books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store right now. And be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all our official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580, at 20% off, but only during the holiday season. Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Grand Hustle, pimp. Big cheddar nights, big money roll. Trap music 2003. T.I.P. That's right. Rubber band man. I just put the XL on 24, pimp. Right to this, yo. I say we getting out. Money rolls, cars and clothes. That's all about partners. Burning drugs on 24. That's how my partners roll. Money rolls, cars and clothes. That's all about partners. Burning drugs on 24. That's how my partners roll. In a drop top Chevy with the roof wide open. My partner's looking at me to see if my eyes open. Cause I've been drinking and I've been smoking and flying down 285, but I'm focused.
Welcome in. You are locked to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Happy Monday. I hope that you had an amazing holiday weekend, that your Thanksgiving was pleasant, relaxing, that you actually gave thanks, and ate well. I mean, it is Monday, and, you know, we always say it, and it's always true, but we have a lot to get into tonight, so I hope that you are relaxed. It's Monday, so no libations. Maybe some tea. Maybe you have some tea to relax you so that we can get into these topics. Of course, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture with me, Jill Munroe. Now, if you want to weigh in on any of these topics tonight, hit us up, 800-920-1580. Of course, you can always get in on the chat on YouTube. Check us out there. Hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580. Of course, hit me up at Stiletto Jill. Love to hear from you. And, say hi. Let us know how your holiday was. All of those good things. Now, of course, let me run down what we are going to be discussing tonight. In hour one, you heard T.I. Andy's on point. We're going to be talking about the situation with King Harris, T.I. and Tiny's son. There was an outburst yesterday at the Atlanta Falcons game that turned a little physical. Do you think that we're expecting too much from celebrity children, from their offspring? Or is this just a case of a child being disrespectful and forgetting his place? We're going to get into that. We are also going to get into, over the holiday, there were some more lawsuits that were added. Diddy and Aaron Hall were accused of sexual assault early in the 90s. So we're going to give you the details of that case and take a mini deep dive into Aaron Hall's past. His ex, Gloria Velez, former video girl, she's spoken out about some things. Aaron did an interview a few years back. We're going to get into all of that, how that makes them look today, and some of the things he said about Gloria. But we're also going to get into Gloria's response to his comments and some things about the situation to give it some texture, some context about what was happening at that time. We're also going to have a Jimmy Iovine update on his case and a couple of others. We're also going to get into hour three. Tiana Taylor and Iman Shumpert, we talked about it briefly last week, that their divorce is public. Tiana actually filed in January of this year using initials so that the details would not get out to the general public, but Iman filed something and used their real, their whole names, I should say. And so some of the details of the divorce, they got out. And in that, Tiana accuses Iman of being jealous of her career. So we're going to get into that and talk about, because, this is kind of on the opposite end of all of that advice and encouragement about get with a man that loves you no matter his price in life. And if you're a successful woman, you don't have to worry about these things. Well, here's a situation with a successful woman, but financially not near her husband, an NBA champion financially. Iman Shumpert earned $40 million in his career. We'll get into that later. We're going to talk about that. We also have a Tyrese Gibson and Samantha Lee update, because, they love to update the internet on their various things going on. We also will have an update about an entity, a sports entity that is using AI for some of its reports, but we'll tell you what people have a problem with and what they've been doing. So we're going to get into that. Like I told you, it's a lot of stuff. We got a little Kanye West, Chris Brown update. They stay with some things. We also are going to get into some of Luke's comments in reference to Gloria Velez. Gloria used to work with Luke back in the day. This all will tie together for you, so we're going to get into that. Now, listen, before we get into the topics of the evening, as always, I have a couple of conversation starters for you. These are things that you need to be aware of, but we may not have all the time to get into everything. Listen, one thing that I can tell you off bat, the roundup of news for 2023 is going to be crazy. Just crazy. Every month it tops itself. Okay, first up, yesterday was basically Atlanta Day at the Falcons game. And, we're going to get into some details of that later. But Jermaine Dupri was on hand. Ludacris performed at halftime. He was flying over the crowd. Luda has announced that he has a new album that will be dropping next year. So we have new music on the way from him. And, of course, there was also other luminaries from the ATL there. Jazzy Faye, Divine Stevens, Dallas Austin, T.I. and Tiny, and more. So shout out to them for the event. The thing that happened on the side was just that, on the side. We have to send condolences to Mila of 702. We know she just lost her sister Irish a few months ago. And less than 2 months after that, this month on November 15th, her mother passed away. It was noted on Instagram. So we just want to send Misha a whole lot of love. That's a lot to happen so close to the holidays and your sister and then your mom. So we want to send her lots and lots of love and support. Also, we're gearing up for the Color Purple release. It stars Fantasia, Taraji P. Henson, Coleman Domingo, and others. And the soundtrack apparently is going to be lit. Megan Thee Stallion has a new original song for the Color Purple soundtrack. It's going to be dropping on Friday, December 15th. So we'll get ready for that. On the other side, more trending topics, more headlines. We're going to get into this T.I. and Tiny and King story, all of that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep. That is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
Cyber Monday deals are on at Target.com. Now through Monday, score online-only deals on some of the hottest gifts of the season, like up to 50% on select toys, 30% on select clothing, and 25% on select beauty. Find it all on the Target app, the easiest way to shop and save. And you'll love free shipping when you use your red card at Target.com. So hurry, get low prices and great Cyber Monday deals. Now through Monday, only at Target.com. Exclusions apply.
Love like this before.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Listen, over the weekend, it was the premiere of Beyonce's Renaissance documentary. And of course, it'll be hitting theaters this coming weekend. However, in advance of that, the premiere took place here in Los Angeles. And if you saw Beyonce, some were saying that her look, she went with an icy white blonde wig, platinum dress, strapless, with gloves. All 5 members of Destiny Child were there. I don't know. Can you say LaToya and Latavia, are they still members of Destiny's Child? I'm going to say yeah. You know, they were at the premiere. We also have heard snippets that there's, a moment in the film of them together, maybe singing or something of that nature. So we'll see. I told you, my belief is that some type of DC5 reunion song or something is coming for the 25th anniversary of the group. At any rate, Lizzo was also there. Of course, Kelly Rowland, Michelle Williams, LaToya Luckett, Gabrielle Union, Tia Mowry, Coco Jones, Lupita was there, Kris Jenner and Corey Gamble, Chloe and Halle, Laverne Cox, I said Coco Jones, right? Janelle Monáe, Vanessa Bryant, along with Natalia, Issa Rae, Lori Harvey. So, it was star-studded. Everyone was decked out in their Renaissance regalia, and it was fantastic. Have you paid your $30 to go see the Beyonce movie? I want to know. I'm interested in seeing it. I hope that it will end up on streaming, though, because I'm not interested in going to the theater to see it. I paid my dues, and I'm very interested in checking it out, but I'm just not trying to go sit in the theater to see it. Wrong time of year for that. Okay, let's get into this T.I., Tiny, and King situation. Now, we have been hearing about King a lot in the past couple of months. It was just a couple of weeks ago that on a podcast he was saying that he didn't really live with his parents growing up. He said that he really lived with his grandmother and would head to his parents' house to do the show. Now, there's a couple of reasons that could be. Your parents are obviously a rapper and an R&B star. They travel and tour a lot. So I'm sure there were times when, grandma kept them better than being in the company perhaps of a nanny or something else while his parents were working, right? But, you know, whatever happened, he feels that that's who really raised him and not his parents. And we've seen King rebel. We've seen him on video almost getting into fights with kids. We've seen him with, I think, you know, some outburst of his own on his Instagram lives, etc. So right now he is, you know, asserting his manhood, I guess. So this Sunday at the Atlanta Falcons game, right? T.I. and King were disagreeing over Instagram. Well, King was on Instagram Live, and there was a conversation about growing up. And T.I. was discussing his childhood and how his children's childhood was that of privileged, right? And he asked his son, you know, about being subjected to living in poor conditions growing up, right? Such as roach-infested homes. He said, King, have you ever woke up with a roach on your face? And that, you know, basically he was like, all right, then you don't know what you're talking about. Basically saying that King grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, that he grew up privileged. Tiny also added in saying, King was like, do y'all want to go to the bando in my neighborhood? You know, he said that T.I. was basically lying to boost his public image. And he said to make him look better, he says stuff that he knows isn't true. So Tiny chimed in and said that King had a silver spoon, right? And King again mentioned that he spent a lot of time at his grandmother's house and that he got into a lot of fights as a child. You know, he said, I don't want to be in these gates. I want to be outside in the neighborhood, right? Why is it? And here's the thing. I know we see this a lot sometimes with children that are privileged. I put that in quotes because, you know, different variations of that sometimes they seem to wander into the other side. They may be excited by it, curious about it. In King's case, you know, he was probably exposed to it in doses, maybe just by his dad's rap music. Who knows, you know? But he certainly wants to prove that he's about that life. You know, as he has said frequently, he's standing on business. Sounds like his dad talking, right? I'm just saying. It got serious though, right? They continued to point out, Tiny and T.I. pointed out some of his habits, saying that, you know, he cried like a baby to be with his grandmother and would hold his breath and throw tantrums in order to get his way. Could be, maybe he wanted to be at grandma's house because it was easier for him to get away with things. What I will say is, outside looking in, don't know, not going to get into, you know, what type of parent we think T.I. is. He does seem to be present in his male sons' lives and interested in them not being embarrassing to the family or not trying to be something that they aren't. He's not encouraging him to be hard like your daddy in that sense, right? But, you know, King is not trying to hear that. And T.I. started saying, you are embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. Tiny also said that his grandmother would allow King to suck his pacifier. And that seemed to really set King off. King was like, ain't nobody sucking a passy. I'm going to tell you why I believe Tiny. Because he said passy. That's what most kids call the pacifier. And, you know, probably in secret, I know a kid that had a bottle till he was about 6 years old. He would, when he would get dropped off at school, he would leave his bottle in the car. The bottle needed to be in, they're an adult now, obviously, in the car when they returned to it, and did that till about 6, 7, 8, well beyond the time that should have a battle. So these things happen. Shout out to DBlack909 in the chat. I'm going to tell you what, DBlack, I done told you about referring to me as auntie. We cool. You my people. I love you. And my Thanksgiving was amazing. I do have leftovers, but I'm kind of done with them. I think I want to make a turkey pot pie with my fried turkey, but we're done with that. Andy, what do you have to say about King's shenanigans?
Were you done breaking it down?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, you know, they just went back and forth, and then T.I. grabbed him up. I guess King couldn't take off the live before that happened. And he was like, you can't see me. You can't see me. Part of me is like, yeah, that's what your dad's supposed to do if you mouthing off and being disrespectful in public to your parents. But again, I know people are triggered by T.I. and some of the things that he has said in the past and some of the choices that he has made. But, you know, shout out to TKP704 in Charlotte. Good evening. Good morning to you. I don't know. It's just an interesting case. I think that King wants to prove himself and establish himself. And I know that it can be difficult because when you do come from privilege, sometimes people don't take you seriously. They don't think that you have had to put in any work for things or that you've ever gone through anything. So they may try you. So he probably did have fights, you know, but I think that he's being crazy disrespectful publicly. And, you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, I'm not going to look at it as disrespect. I'm going to put myself in his shoes. And I think you illustrated it right there, you know what I'm saying, before you send it off to me. It's unfortunate, but I think opposites attract, right? Like you said, most privileged kids, for some reason, whatever, they have this interest in street life or the struggle, so to speak. Not everybody, not all of them. You also got to understand the household in which he grew up. T.I. being his dad. Part of me wants to blame the music, obviously, and that lifestyle is something that T.I. rapped about. You know what I'm saying? He grew up. He probably witnessed some things, saw some things, and you know that lifestyle might have been something that's attractive. It also reminds me of what Michael Irvin had to say about his child,
right?
Tarantino. You grew up in the gated community, yet you talking the street life. It's like opposites attract, because you talk to a lot of cats who grew up in the streets. They would probably tell you, man, I would have loved to have lived with both of my parents, you know, away from, you know what I'm saying, the struggle or whatnot. And I think, you know, there's this stereotype, once again, you broke it down, from privileged kids that, you know, that they're soft, didn't work for anything or whatnot. And I just think he just wanted to prove people like, look, yeah, T.I., Tiny's, they my parents or whatnot, but yeah, I grew up with grandma. I grew up outside of the gate or whatnot. You feel me? Like, I
heard his grandmother didn't live. I mean, I can't imagine they still had their parents in the bando. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I don't know. Shannon said it right, man. You know, just a spoiled little brat or whatnot. And I'm gonna give him grace. I'm not even gonna say that he was being disrespectful. I think as a kid, it hurts that my own parents have to call me this, knowing damn well when I go to school, I'm probably getting bullied for being privileged.
Right. I agree. I think so, but I think that he brings it on. So what I can say, right? What I remember is, as a kid, going to, like, you know, a friend's house or a cousin's house that maybe lived in a different area from me, different environment. The hood was fun. Some more kids there. It was always something going on, right? And, you know, it was a different type of fun. So I think about that sometimes when I look at these kids, because it's a different experience, you know, whichever way you're going. It's something that you're not used to, right? And I think that, and I'm not saying this is with King, but I think too, for me, one thing that I always did, I never wanted to judge friends by their circumstance, you know? So I would not be friends with someone if they lived in a different area. My parents would, you know, of course they would monitor, but I couldn't not go to my friend's house because of whatever and just have them come to ours. We would go back and forth. So I don't know if it's a thing like that with him, plus, you know, dealing with his parents. He was, but I remember him talking about being bullied a few years ago with video and some things happening. And so, you know, shout out to Shannon. She says, I'm pretty sure he went to private school. He may have, but, you know, here's the thing. People often, private school can be a different type of bullying, a different type of intimidation, you know? So it may not be the same rough and tumble and the same type of scary things, for lack of a better term, that happens in public school, but there are some dangers, some interesting circumstances that can come about in private school as well. You know, I do think it is interesting, though, that he was saying they're not going to tell you anything. They're trying to hide it, sugarcoat it. You know, he said his dad was capping. He knows I stand on business. He knows I ain't no ninja ever pulled my card in my life. I stand on business. You drop me in your hood, I stand on business. You want to hide it from the world, I'm going to put it out here for them to see. You ain't have to put me up nowhere. Here's the thing. After all of this happened, right, he then came along and, you know, put some more topics onto social media, right? He was like, again, I stand on business. Don't give a bleep who you are. IDGAF, who you are. MF, can't play with me. Can't be in my face. I'm not going down. I'm a grown man now, right? He also said, if I was a mistake, just say so. So, again, that's why I think that there is some lashing out in this. You know, kids are hurt by different things and use other ways at times to get back at their parents, to get their parents' attention, to not. I'm not really sure what's going on with him, but I hope that they can resolve it. Again, he deleted those tweets. A couple of people have, of course, weighed in on what's going on. Hitmaker, you know, that used to be Young Berg. He said, I love Tip and his whole family. I used to be exactly like King as a kid, and now that I'm a grown man with some money, I 1000% know I was tripping. Be smart, little bruh. King didn't like that. He seemingly responded back with some heat on his Instagram story, but he didn't say no name, so we don't know. Maybe he was talking about someone else. There was also commentary from Shannon Sharp, who said that you should always honor thy mother and father, you know, to live long, from the Bible. Of course, Chad Johnson had a little difference of opinion as far as that went. I just hope that they work it out and that whatever is going on with King, it doesn't decline into something more serious, because he's trying to prove a point. And, you know, some people that will let him prove that point.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine?
They'll be fine. I mean, I've had spats with my parents. I'm sure you had spats with your parents.
Absolutely, but not on social media where everybody can see, and then they see your dad yoking you up. I mean, I feel like that stuff is a different type of thing on your mental, no?
They'll be fine. I mean, think they grew up with social media now.
True.
So they've lived their lives, good, bad, indifferent, on social media. They'll be fine.
That's facts. Well, when we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics, more headlines. Fahim in the chat says, I'm sure Tiny and T.I. weren't living like Ward and June Cleaver. I'm sure they weren't either, but he said he spent a lot of time at his grandmother's house. So if they, you know, they have admitted that they have a special type of lifestyle. But I think that they sent the kids away when they were into that special type of lifestyle. But everybody can read the internet. When we come forward, more trending topics, more headlines. I have an update for you about Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. On the other side, sports news coming up for you. KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The issue of redistricting in Louisiana is back in court this week. A scheduled 7-day trial may determine whether political lines for state legislative seats will be redrawn. Plaintiffs claim Louisiana uses gerrymandered districts to dilute the black vote for both the U.S. House of Representatives and for state House and Senate seats. This week's trial will focus only on the state districts. A lawyer for imprisoned ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of killing George Floyd, says there have been no updates provided to his client's family since he was stabbed behind bars. Minneapolis attorney Greg Erickson stated that he tried to reach out to the Federal Bureau of Prisons about 15 times. Chauvin was stabbed on Friday in the medium security prison in Arizona. He is in stable condition and is expected to survive. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Halloween is over, but hiring is still scary. Indeed's end-to-end solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Meet LA's most affordable health plan. This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is proud to offer the lowest cost health plans in Los Angeles County, featuring zero cost preventive services to help you achieve your wellness goals. Be part of the region's largest HMO network, featuring UCLA Health, Optum, and allied physicians without breaking the bank. We are here to help. Call us at 855-222-4239 for enrollment assistance. That's 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered. Your wellness, our mission.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Just like a bird, I just wanna fly free. And I own a piece of land somewhere off in a country. Oh yeah, listen. Temperatures like 100 degrees, like I got chains on me. Blackmail in the family of three, been right on my destiny. Reckon I'll fly away, cause it's too much for the man. Shouldn't have gone down this way. What happened to my master plan? Cause I can't figure out, I could have been a love child. Shouldn't have gone down this way. Tell me, how did I get lost? Whoa, yeah. Talk to me.
Welcome in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know we had to let that Casey and JoJo ride. That song so much reminds me of like an Al Green song. I love Al Green. Love and Happiness is one of my favorite songs of all time. I feel like that is one of those songs that is, you know, just sums up life, the joy, the pain, the feelings, the emotions. The bass line is crazy on it, the guitar, the organ, you know, and it's just that tinge of gospel, and that's what that song reminds me of. Everybody in the chat, Shannon Thompson, Urban Spinster, hitting the live. Okay, you know I can't sing, so let me not try and hit Casey's vocal. Y'all don't roast me. I try, though. I try. It's all in good fun. Andy?
Before we go on to the next topic, I do want to go back to the whole T.I. and King situation. Yep. So remember the movie ATL, right?
Yep. Remember when he snatched up Evan Ross?
No.
Oh.
Remember Nunu?
Yep.
And her
exactly.
Character.
Exactly. And let's take it a step further. Nunu was loosely based off of T-Boz, right? So, because the whole thing about that movie, if we recall, it was based off of Dallas Austin and T-Boz and the skating rink they used to go to in Atlanta and growing up. And someone else also used to hang out with it. I think Kim Porter. No, Kim Porter was... what's the other movie with Nick Cannon? Drumline. I think Kim Porter was a little bit of the inspiration behind that script. But ATL definitely, Tion, Dallas Austin, someone else.
So T-Boz was faking the funk back then?
I don't know if this is exactly in that thing. I don't think so, because I don't think Tion grew up privileged per se, maybe a little bit better off, or maybe, you know, she was the girl that people considered the fly girl a little more. I'm not sure, but I do know it was based off of that.
And then another thing, you know, you said something profound earlier. You talked about how when you went to friends' homes who probably weren't as privileged, like you didn't have a spirit where you felt like you needed to judge or whatnot. And it just has me thinking, like, for parents who come from poverty, right,
Mm-hmm.
who was able to make it and become successful, and then, you know, later on have children who didn't necessarily have to grow up under those circumstances, it makes me wonder if they had discussions about what it is to be privileged. Because I think, you know, if they had conversation on what it is to be privileged, maybe they wouldn't have, you know, this disposition. They would have a more understanding of where they're at.
I think maybe because I think it can be difficult because, one, we always desire what the unknown or what we haven't seen, right? And so I think that one of the interesting things, like I know with my parents, I grew up very, very differently from how they grew up. But they were my parents, like vastly differently. The things that I was exposed to, the things that I had got to do based off of their hard work, right? And so I don't know if they ever had the one-to-one comparison, but when I got older, I understood some of the bumps where they just didn't understand me or my perspective because I had grown up in a totally different situation. And them to me, sometimes in some of the things that they would do or say, but of course I didn't fully understand it till I was older and, got to experience life and look at things. But for me, because for whatever reason, early on, I switched schools a lot. So I got to see a lot of different environments. I got to see different parts of the city. And that was just helpful to me. Plus, I'm going to be honest, TV. I watched a lot of TV as a kid, a lot of movies. And I read a lot of books. So I shaped certain ideas and things from that, But I think that no matter what, we always imagine what the other side looks like. And probably to King, sitting right there, seeing his parents, like his dad made it up out of that. A lot of that stuff still probably looks adventurous, in some ways. His dad is dripped out in jewelry, still getting gun charges. So in some ways, it's like, unfortunately, your son saw and has heard a lot of the things that you talk when he says standing on business. That sounds just like T.I. And he could be in some ways trying to live up to his dad's shadow, but rebelling, in other ways. It's complicated. Like, I look at it like this. T.I. and Tiny together have, maybe 7 children together? Something like that, right? And of them, there's 2 that have seemingly, had some things come out. Deja, who is obviously not Tiny's child, but she's come out and said some things. And then now King. So, you never know how it's going to impact the children because, Major grew up with him. Eris is young. We'll have to see. Zanique, who is Tiny's daughter, older, grew up with him. And seemingly, there might be some things that people say, oh, that's kind of questionable. I don't know if you always can avoid it, even if you talk to them about it, even if you have those conversations. Because I think about some of the episodes of The Family Business where T.I. was trying to talk to the boys, talk to King especially about, this has been an ongoing theme about, when he first said that he wanted to rap. Listen, you grew up different. You grew up here. So we'll have to see. It's just an interesting thing. It's hard when your parents come from one type of situation era, and that made them rich. That made them who they are, It's not Tamika and Clifford, it's T.I. and Tiny, and they were representing, especially T.I., standing on business meant going to jail. Standing on business meant your mama was on the curb right next to him, holding him down. So mixed signals, perhaps,
Definitely mixed signals for sure.
So we hope they work it out. Okay, Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. Now listen, we know they did life together and they are good friends, but did you know, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this, but did you know that their children are dating? They've been seriously dating. So Martin Lawrence's daughter, Jasmine, did they get married? I think they may have even gotten married yet over the summer. I'm not sure, but Martin Lawrence's daughter, Jasmine, and Eddie's son, Miles, are together. They're a couple, right? Well, Eddie has a new movie coming out called Candy Cane Lane. He co-stars with Tracy Ellis Ross in it. And in a recent interview, when discussing the movie, they talked about the Thanksgiving holiday. And so Eddie said that for the holiday, he believes that it won't be a raucous holiday with, the 2 families coming together. He felt that the kids would probably hit Martin's house first and then come to his, right? Eddie and Martin obviously have done 2 films together. Life, as we just mentioned, when they were the best buddies. That movie's hilarious. And also Boomerang, which we can't forget, romantic comedy classic. And so they have a relationship together, right? But what Eddie pointed out is that a Thanksgiving dinner at either of their houses is not going to be what you expect. It's going to be a lot more low key because everyone is very different, they said, in real life. And Eddie said, you know, what's interesting, neither one of us are like our on-screen personas. And Tracy Ellis Ross jumped in and said, you know, that was one of the most surprising things about meeting Eddie. He's a gentle person, but he's an introvert, very gentle and very quiet.
I was going to say, what is his thing? Like, what
do you mean?
What I mean, you used the word. I blanked out on the word that you used. Like, what is his persona? I'm just saying, being an actor, he's played so many different type of personas. You know what I'm saying?
I think that Eddie was probably much, you know, back in the 80s, we all saw Delirious and Raw. We're not allowed to reference them. You know, Eddie got lit. He was outside, you know. Didn't Eddie try or date Whitney for a minute or went at, you know, Eddie was out there doing his thing. And obviously he got a lot of kids, so he was hitting it hard. And I think in his older, you know, he's a grandfather now, things like that. I think Martin might be a grandfather as well. So they're a little calmer in their older age. And Martin has always maintained he was very different off stage than on. I think that is what naturally happens for some as you get older. And when you have those type of extroverted personalities, especially when you're talking about on stage and stuff like that, I think it's natural because maybe although we haven't seen Eddie on stage in quite some time, but I think it's natural that maybe in your home life you reserve that energy or, you know, a little more calmer in your day to day.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. You know, I remember 50 talking about how a lot of people think like right after a concert or whatnot, how he goes to the club. Nah, after his concert is done, he goes straight to his hotel, straight to sleep.
Right. I think a lot of people, I mean, to your point, I think a lot of people they're disappointed, like when they go to a concert and they go backstage, they think it's going to be turned up, drinks everywhere, partying. And especially if it's a veteran act, most of those people are like, I come in, do my set, and I'm out. I'm not sitting there. I'm not turning, you know, they're past that point. But we as the audience sometimes aren't in that place and aren't aware. Urban Spinster in the chat says, wasn't Deja the daughter that T.I. was trying to make sure her hymen was still intact by going to the OBG gynecologist appointments with her? Okay, here's the thing with that. He did say that. I think that statement, he probably shouldn't have said it, but was taken out of context. He was joking. He was being sarcastic. His point was he didn't want his daughter out there in the world and, you know, I'll go call her gyno up and check or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't know if he really did that. If he did, correct me. But I felt like a lot of times when you see especially strict fathers that used to be in the street, that's usually why they're so strict, because they don't want their karma, some would say, or their child running into a man like them, especially their daughters. So they are overprotective. Yes, it is a leftover of the misogynistic era, but I think we are changing in terms of what is acceptable, what is okay. And I also think, and this isn't about you, Urban Spinster, at all, but just in general, people don't really listen sometimes or listen to comprehend. They just, you know, see a headline or see something and go with it. And then things get a little twisted and taken out of context. Again, you know, those type of jokes for fathers, especially of a certain age, I would say boomers and Gen Xers, you know, those are the kind of jokes that they would make. I'm going to get my shotgun and things like that. It's not appropriate now. We get that. But sometimes it's going to take some of these people a minute to understand the new lingo, the new rules, and get up to speed, especially if they're doing it for a while. Fahima says, Jill, I would be up as a kid when I was supposed to be asleep, watching Johnny Carson and Larry King and listening to adult conversations. Exactly. I mean, listen, there was, before cable, there was home box office, which was HBO, this thing called On and Select. You would like click the button. It was this big thing and you would turn it on, and they would show you movies. And at late night, they would have these crazy like aerobic videos that were kind of inappropriate. The women were dressed, they were working out, but it was like softcore something.
Taxi cab confessions.
This is before Taxi Cab Confessions. Like, I'm talking before that was even a thing. I love Taxi Cab Confessions, by the way, and I'm so sad HBO or Max now took all of that content off of their HBO Max thing in the servers. You can't watch like the real sex shows or Taxi Cab Confessions. I think there was another one, Cat House something. They took all of that content off of their thing.
I don't know why.
I do.
Cat House was fire.
They were, but they took them off because when Discovery purchased them, Discovery is more of a family brand. It tracks in middle America, the flyover states, and they felt that content was a little too risque. They didn't want to dabble in that space. And there was a period of time, because Max has gone through a couple of transitions of what it was going to be. At one point, there was going to be a heavy kids presence in there that they, changed course on. So that is also part of the reason why they took those things off. But those were some of the greatest slice of life shows. They were educational to me because you just learned about human nature, people. You got to hear interesting stories. And to me, you understand that life is not a straight line. Like, this in common sense, but just hearing some of these stories randomly, and some of the crazy things that happen, it just, to me, made me respect the, randomness of life, and that, can take you anywhere, really.
Well, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, whatever, y'all need to tap in and try to get that library if you can. Put that on there, because I think you will get some viewers. And if somebody's out there, a content creator, you know what I'm saying, the idea is probably out there.
Uber Confessions.
I was just about to say Uber/Lyft Confessions. That'd be great.
I can't believe that nobody has done it yet. Maybe it's difficult as far as the secret recording and stuff like that, because Taxi Cab Confessions was done in New York, in Vegas. I'm not sure what obviously you had to sign a waiver after the fact and they talked to them, but I don't know if, a show like that can work now, if things are tricky, if I'm not sure, but it was a great concept and I would love to hear it again. When we come forward, more trending topics, more headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, everything okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Honey. Hey, I'm here for you. Tell me about school today.
When kids can't find the right words, music can help them sound it out. Talk to the kids in your life about their emotional well-being. Find tools and resources at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Discover, this is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? 'Cause everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Let me get to this YouTube chat. There's lots of comments in there. Shannon says, Eddie was with everybody, and I mean everybody. Eddie was getting busy in the 80s. He was dating. He was outside. it was the time to do it. I can't be mad. I remember I used to watch him on late night talk shows, and he used to talk about his social life. Come on, what do you think Eddie was doing in Buffalo with Rick James when they were recording Party All the Time? I know. It was active. I know.
Who's quote unquote worse, him or Common?
Eddie or Common? Common, because Eddie got married. Eddie was married to Nicole for several years, you know what I'm saying? And now he has been in a committed relationship where he is engaged and has children with, I believe her name is Paige. So, I don't know. Common got to choose up. It's time. I mean, George Clooney was a bachelor till 50 or maybe almost 50. I guess Common's over 50. We'll just see what happens. Urban Spencer says, there are men in their 40s calling women work or them things. So let me tell you something about the work comment. The work is something that I believe started from professional athletes. I'm going to tell you, I heard that from NBA players specifically. And yeah, they still use it. I mean, people are always going to have a terminology for what some call fun girls. I call them fun girls. Or different things. Listen, they always gonna speak on it. Urban Spinster also said, on and select, trying to watch TV through those scrambled lines. Yes, we all were definitely trying to do that. I don't know. As far as T.I., Tiny, and King, I hope they'll get it together. It can be hard. I'm sure as a child of a celebrity. He's not the first child of a celebrity that we've seen get into some interesting situations. And again, it could be tricky when your dad is, one of the kings of the South and what he's the king of the South for. Standing on business, certain type. T.I. tried to fight Floyd Mayweather. I want you to think about that for a second. Of course, at least one of the kids is going to be a little wild. Now, listen, coming up in hour 2, we're going to break down this Aaron Hall Diddy case. We're also going to talk a little bit about the situation which caused Aaron to meet his son's mother and some circumstances about that, because there's some language that's been floating around. And we know Aaron is a wild boy, but I want to look at this situation from a open standpoint. I'm not talking about the case. I'm talking about his baby's mama. But we'll get into that on the other side. We also have some stuff about AI and what you might be reading. We'll get into all of that in hour 2. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports on the other side.
Close to a peace of mind. Everything was about to be fine. So tell me